Hi there guys, and welcome back to another video. So again, this video is going to be looking at ZFS on Unraid, and in the last video we converted the cache pool here, formatting it with ZFS and creating our first Z pool. And so now we've got our first Z pool, it's time to have a look at what we can do and how we can use it. So let's do that. Right, so first let's have a look at what's on this Z pool. We can see here I've got the Appdata share, domain share and the system share. Now when Unraid creates a share in a Z pool, it doesn't create it as a regular directory, it creates it as a ZFS dataset. Now you may be wondering, just what's the difference? Well, a regular directory on your computer is like the basic version of a storage option. It holds files and folders without any frills. It doesn't do anything else. However, a ZFS dataset is like the premium upgrade of this. In addition to storing files and directories, it comes packed with extra features. It can recall previous versions of its contents, called Snapshots, and it offers encryption for advanced security and supports compression to make better use of your storage space. So basically, it's a more powerful and flexible way to manage data, just as a premium option often provides more features and benefits than the basic one. Now you may be wondering, just how do we know if a folder is a regular folder or a dataset? Well, that's a good question. And one way we can do that is we can open up a command prompt. Now don't worry, I'll show you another way as well. But in the command prompt we can just type ZFS list. And that will list all of the datasets in the actual server. We can see here the name of my pool, cache, and I've got these three datasets here, Appdata, domains and system. So if we minimize this a moment and we have a look inside of my Appdata, well, I've got all of these folders which store various app data for the individual containers that I've got running on this server. But if we bring up our command prompt again, we'll notice that none of the actual folders inside the Appdata are listed here as being datasets. So whilst you keep that in mind, I'm going to show you another way we can have a look at the datasets and folders. So I'm going to go across to the Apps tab here, and I'm going to install a plugin called ZFS Master. And this plugin gives us additional functionality when using ZFS on Unraid. And whilst it's installing, I want to give a big thank you to the author Ica Saint for making this awesome plugin. And whilst I'm here in Community Applications, I'm going to install the user script plugin, as we're going to need that later on. Okay, so let's install that, and a big thanks to the author Squid for making this super useful plugin. Okay, so with that done, now I'm going to go back to the main tab here, and now with the ZFS Master plugin installed, we can see here under ZFS Master, it lists all of the Z pools that we have, and we can click this button here which says show datasets, and we can see my three datasets here, Appdata, domains and system. Now one other thing this plugin can do is if we click on actions here, it allows us to take a snapshot. Now for those of you guys who are not sure what a snapshot is, basically when you take a snapshot of a dataset, it freezes that in a moment of time. So all of the contents of that dataset are frozen with that snapshot, so in the future if you want to come and roll back to that, then you can just easily roll back to that snapshot. So basically, as the word infers, a snapshot's like taking a photograph, but instead of just looking at the snapshot, you can actually go back in time to when that snapshot was taken. Now there's other things we can do with snapshots as well, such as cloning a dataset from a snapshot, but we'll be looking at that in a future video. So I'm going to click the button here now to take a snapshot, and here you'll see there's the option to recursively create snapshots of all the descendant datasets. So if I click onto that and click snapshot now, the snapshot's being created. We can see here now the dataset here is highlighted blue, but on the right hand side here, this little icon which looks like a camera represents how many snapshots we've got, and at the moment I've got one. So if I click onto actions here and then go to snapshots admin, we can see here I've only got one snapshot. Now I did ask it to snapshot all of the descendants, all of the child datasets, but remember all of the things inside of the app data, these are not datasets, these are regular folders. So let's go to the dashboard a moment, and under Docker containers, we can see I've got my MB server running here. So if I click on Web UI, it's all working nicely. But now imagine I go into my Shares tab here, I go into Appdata, I go to MB server, and carelessly while I'm not thinking, I accidentally delete a load of stuff inside the Appdata, which is pretty much going to obviously break MB. So when I go back to dashboard and I'm going to restart MB, when I go to the Web UI, it's now asking me to set up a brand new MB because I deleted that Appdata and it's just recreated it with the default. So let's close this and stop the container, and now I'm going to go back to the main tab here, and I'm going to go to Actions, then Snapshots Admin, and here I can roll back the snapshot. But, and this is a big caveat at the moment, is rolling back the snapshot will roll back all of the containers to how they were at this moment of time, because the snapshot is for the whole of the Appdata share. But anyway, let's roll it back, and we can see it's successful. So now let's go back to the dashboard, start up the MB server, open the Web UI, and we're back to exactly how we were before. My MB server set up correctly, and there's my user Ed that I can sign in with. Great. Okay, so we're finally getting to the purpose of this video. So what we really need to be able to do is make individual snapshots for each of the containers individually. So that would mean we'd need to convert inside of our Appdata all of these folders into datasets. But before we do that, let's just go back to the main tab here and we can have a look at some more of the functions of the ZFS master plugin. So obviously here we can create more datasets. If I click on to create here, I can make a new dataset. The first part here is the name of the pool. For me that's cache. So if I start typing Appdata, I can click onto that here and I can make a new dataset. Let's call it test, and here I can actually set compression if I wanted to. I could set that for LZ4. I could set a quota here if I wanted to, and also I could encrypt the dataset if I wanted to do that as well. So if you remember at the beginning of the video, I was talking about datasets like being the premium option. Well here, this is where you'd set all of their special features. But again, if you didn't want to, you don't need to set any of them at all. And as well, if you want to create a new regular folder, you don't even need to create a dataset at all. You can just create a regular folder and use that. Anyway, I'm creating a dataset. So with that done, I just click on to create, and it says here, a dataset successfully being created. So I can click on to OK. And now we can see that child dataset listed under the main dataset here. But if we go and look inside the Appdata here, we can see all of the folders and the dataset here that says test, but there's no way we can really tell the difference. So I've got a little script that will look at a dataset and tell you what are folders and what are datasets. So to install that, let's go across to my GitHub, click onto repositories, and let's click onto list datasets or folders. Click onto this script here, then we want to click raw. And then I'm on Windows, so I'm going to click Control A and Control C to copy all of this. And we installed the user scripts plugin earlier, so I'm going to go to settings and user scripts, and I'm going to add a new script. Let's call it folder or dataset. And I'm going to hover over the cog here and go to edit script. I'm going to delete this bin bash here and then paste the script in. Now if I scroll up to the top here, and here in this line where it says source dataset, we have to put the name of the pool and the dataset name. Now the name of the pool for me is cache, and the name of the dataset I want to look at is Appdata. Now we can double check that's correct. I'm just going to open up the main tab in the new tab, and scrolling down here to ZFS master, I can see under pool here the name's cache, and under dataset name here the dataset is Appdata. So with that done, I can click on to save changes and then run the script. And so here it tells us the datasets here is the one we created, test, and the folders, the regular folders, are all these here. So this script can be quite useful when you're not sure inside of a share which are just regular folders and which are datasets. Okay, so now it's time that we convert all of these into datasets. Now to do this manually would take forever. So again, I'm going to use a script. So head across to my GitHub once more, and you'll see this script here, Unraid ZFS auto dataset update. So click onto that, and here you'll see a detailed README all about the script. Now please do take the time to read through it. As this script is manipulating data on your server, it's important to know exactly all what it does. But basically what this script will do is it will look at a dataset and look at the top level directories there and see if they're regular folders or datasets, and any regular folders it will convert them into ZFS datasets. Now inside of the script are various variables. It can be set to run as a dry run, which basically means the script will run and you'll see what it would do in a test scenario, so you can be sure that you want to run it. Then here we've got the source pool that we specify. For me that's going to be cache, and the source dataset here. For me that's going to be Appdata. Now what this script will do is it will stop all of the containers that are running before this process happens, because obviously we don't want data being manipulated when a container is using it. Underneath here you'll see another variable, and this variable here, containers to keep running, we can specify in quotations separated by a space all of the containers which we don't want the script to shut down. Now the first time we run the script we'd probably have this empty, but after we've run the script one time all of our Appdata folders will be datasets, but if we install another container, well that freshly installed container will be into a folder. So it's good to have this script run every night, and then any new containers that have been installed will be converted to datasets. And so then if you put in all of the containers here which have already been converted, then it doesn't need to shut them down. And so if you're watching a movie or something, when the script runs, well it's not going to shut down your Plex or MB container. Now a similar thing here for VMs. Maybe you want to run this on your domain share. So if you want it to stop VMs, you'd set this to yes. And again, exactly the same principle here. We specify here the VMs that we want to keep running. And here cleanup equals yes. This is normally set to yes. But if you set this to no, then the source files will be left as well as the datasets, and you have to manually clean up afterwards. Now here replace spaces equals no. Some folders may have a space in it, and you can set this here for those spaces to be replaced by underscores, because sometimes with ZFS datasets, some particular software doesn't like datasets with spaces in it, although it's absolutely fine to have datasets with spaces in. Anyway, so those are the variables that we're going to set. So basically the working principle of this script is it will first stop all services that are running that need to be stopped, then it renames the original directories. For example, the MB folder will be renamed to MB_temp. After that, a dataset will be created with the original name. So for MB, it would just be created a dataset with the name of MB. After that, then the script, it copies all of the data from inside of the original folder, which has been renamed, into the new dataset. Then if you set cleanup to yes, it will clean up those temp files, and finally it will restart the services that the script stopped. And then the script's finished, that's job done. Okay, so let's set this up now. So click on to the name of the script here. Again, let's go to raw, and I'm going to select all of this here and copy it to the clipboard. I'm going to go back to the server here, add new script. I'm going to call it auto convert to dataset. I'm going to get rid of bin bash here and then paste in the script. Now I'm going to scroll up to the top here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to run this as a dry run. So make sure the first time you run it, have dry run set to yes. Now the source pool name, well, I know mine is cache, and the dataset with the folders inside I want converting is Appdata. Yes, I want it to stop any containers that might be running. I don't need it to stop any VMs. And cleanup I'm going to have as yes. Okay, so that's all the variables I need to do. So now I can click Save Changes. So when I run the script, the first time I run it with dry run, I'm going to run the script in the foreground here, not in the background. So I'm just going to click here. And so we can see here everything that would have happened if I'd let the script run normally. And this all looks great to me. So I'm going to click onto done. Now I'm going to edit the script and I'm going to put dry run to no. And this time I'm going to run the script in the background. The reason being, if you've got a lot of app data, it can take a long time. And if you run it in the background, it doesn't matter if you come off the page or you shut down your browser, it will carry on running. So let's click on run in background and done. And we can see what's happening by clicking on the log here. We can see here it stopped the MB server. That was the only container running. And now it's going through and converting all of the folders into datasets. So I'm going to pause the video here and come back when it's done. Okay, so we can see the script is now finished. We can see here it went through and converted all of these datasets. Each one as well, it tells you the size of what it was. We can see here it restarted the MB server look. And at the bottom of the script, it will tell you which folders were successfully converted to datasets. So with the script finished, I'm going to run the other script here just to have a look inside. And now we can see that the contents are all datasets and it says there are no folders present. Perfect. So now we've converted our datasets, let's have a look inside ZFS master and see how that looks there. So now you see that we've got all of these child datasets. So this time now, if I go to do a snapshot and I recursively create snapshots for all of the descendant datasets, we can see here now that each of these individual datasets have now got their own snapshot. And the parent dataset here has got 2 because of the one we ran earlier. Now something to notice here, this test dataset which I created earlier, now if you try and use the normal file manager to delete a dataset, well, it actually doesn't work. You see, it's still there. So to get rid of a dataset, the easiest way we can do it using a GUI is we can actually use the ZFS master plugin for it. But when we look here, under actions, well, we can only see take snapshot. That's because we need to change this to be able to have a destructive mode. So to do that, we go to settings here and scroll down, go to ZFS master and destructive mode, set that to yes. Now with that done, when we go back to the main tab and we scroll down, we can see the test dataset here, and if I now click on actions, I can click on destroy. I'm going to check force and recursively destroy all children and dependents, and that will delete the dataset. Now I'm going to create another test dataset quickly. Let's call this one test 2, and now I'll show you how to delete it using command line. So let's open up a terminal window, and to delete it, let's just type ZFS destroy, and I'm going to put a -R for recursive, so if there are any snapshots in it, it would delete that as well. And I'm going to put an F as well for force, and the space, and then the name of the pool, and for me that's cache, /appdata, and /test2. Okay, so that's destroyed. Okay, so that dataset's now deleted. But obviously with command line, it's much easier to make a mistake, and if I wasn't careful, and I didn't put test2 at the end, well, I could have deleted the whole of my app data. So when using command line, always be really careful. Okay, so that's no longer there. Now next thing, let's go and install another container. Doesn't matter which one we'll do, we'll just pick any random one. Let's put in the Unify controller. Okay, so that's installed. So now if we go back to the main tab here, if you notice, we can't see the Unify controller listed as a dataset. Well, that's as expected. If we go to settings, user scripts, let's check the folder quickly. So now we can see all the original datasets we've already converted. But that new container, by default, when Unraid installs a container, it will make it as a folder, even if that folder is inside a dataset. Now maybe that's something that will change in the future, but for now, that's how it is. So I'm going to click on to done here, and I'm going to edit my script. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at the name of the Docker containers that I want to make sure don't stop. And for me, the main one is going to be MB server. So let's copy its name here, and I'm going to go back to the script, and let's edit the script. And here where it says keep containers running, this first container here, I'm going to paste in MB server because I don't want that to stop. And here you could put in all of your containers that have already been converted. For the sake of this video, I'm only going to put this one in. So I'm going to click on Save Changes. And again, let's run this in the background. Okay, so that finished really quickly. We can see the first thing it did is stop the Unify controller. It skipped everything that were already datasets because it had already converted them. And then it just converted the Unify Appdata folder into a dataset here. Okay, so now the next thing to do, in my opinion, is we want to set this to run every night on a schedule. So I'm going to put custom here, and here we can put our custom cron schedule. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to use cron tab here, which will help me generate the correct format. So at the moment we can see here, this here means it's going to run at 4:05. So the first bit is the minutes, the hours, the day, the month, and the day of the week. So I want mine to run at 2 AM, so I'm going to put a 0 here and a 2 here. And so I can see that's going to run every night at 2 AM. So for me that's perfect. I'm going to copy this and paste that into the cron schedule here and click on to apply. So now every night this script will run and convert any new containers into datasets. So then I can easily snapshot them and roll back things individually should I so need to. Okay, so that really brings us to the end of this video. Now in the next video I'm going to show you some scripts that will automatically snapshot anything we want, which can keep snapshots on a retention policy. For example, 7 daily snapshots, 4 weekly snapshots, and say 3 monthly snapshots. And also in the next video we'll be seeing how we can send those snapshots, replicating that data set to another Z-pool. That Z-pool can be on the same server or another server, wherever you need it to go. I find ZFS data replication super useful because it actually allows us to back up data while it's live and running. So for instance, all of our app data can just be backed up whilst the containers are using it. No need to shut anything down. Same for VMs as well. But guys, like I said, that's the next video. But if you enjoyed this video guys, please give it a thumbs up, hit that like button, share it with anyone who you think might find it useful. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to all of my Patreons and supporters out there. Thank you so much guys for all of your support. Without you guys, I really wouldn't be able to make these videos. Anyway guys, it's time for me to go now. But whatever you're up to for the rest of the day, I hope it's good. And I'll catch you in the next video.